I'm going to try to hook you on endgame studies. I told you I'd try to do it, and now I'm going to start. I was at the St. Paul Castle Chess Club in Minnesota back in the 80s. It was about 1 in the morning on a Friday night, and Don Aldrich, who was running the club, I think, challenged us. There were a couple of us sitting around. He had an endgame study, and he said we couldn't solve it. And he said he was going to go home, and he gave us his phone number, and he said, call him up, but not later than 4 in the morning when we had given up, and he would give us a solution. Well, I fancied myself a fair to middling endgame analyst, especially when I could move the pieces around. And so I told him that forget 4 in the morning, I'll call you at 3 in the morning with the solution. And so he took off, and here's the position. I had never heard about this, and I, after seeing this study, and then I looked into it, there's a theme here, and the theme is called domination, about which more in due course. So again, Don took off, and we went to work. The first problem, instantly noticeable, is White has 2 bishops that are both hanging. So that's a problem. And there's only one way to deal with that. We're not going to spend too much time trying to solve it. First of all, I already have the solution. But also, my point is to get you hooked and to appreciate the beauty of endgame studies. And so we're just going to look at the solution. This is like chess candy. Rook to d8 handles the situation for right now. Of course, black can't take the bishop here. If he takes the rook, then white takes back, and he keeps his 2 bishops. Game over. But there's the other little problem, and that is that black has a pawn on a3. Now he pushes it to a2. It's true that white can take the rook, and he will have a rook and 2 bishops against a queen. In any middle game, or any normal endgame for that matter, a rook and 2 bishops is a walk-off for the pieces. But here, a queen is just enough to draw against a rook and 2 minor pieces. So white has to take it. Black's rook is hanging. He can't take the rook. He's got to get the rook out of there. But if he doesn't do something very active here, white will just move his bishop on h4, and white will be up to 2 pieces. So, of course, black has to play rook f4 check. This is the right move, king e3. And now if black checks again, he won't have any more checks after king to e2. So he continues with the theme of attacking the bishops. Again, if white moves 1 bishop, then the other one is taken, and you've got rook and bishop versus rook, which is a draw often, unless you're playing a GM, in which case they will grind you down each time unless you've spent many hours working on the theory. Okay, so white's got to get his bishop out of the way, but he has to attack. He has to be active here, or else black takes the other bishop. So bishop to b3 is the only move here, and now black can continue with the theme and must. He's got to attack this bishop, but he can go 2 ways. He can go to a3 or b4. So let's check out rook a3. But of course, the problem is rook to d4 check, covering the bishop on h4, followed by rook to b4, and white keeps his bishops. That'll never work. So let's back this up. 1 move. How do we back this up? Okay. But how about rook to b4? And we got this position pretty quickly. It was well before 3 in the morning, I'd say. These are all pretty forced moves for both sides. Okay, so again, two bishops hanging. One bishop moves, the other bishop's taken. The only move to look at, but it's not really worth looking at, is rook to d4. And if black moves his rook somewhere, then white, if he trades rooks, this is hopeless. Black trades rooks, and then he takes the bishop on h4. We reached this position a dozen times over the hours, and as sad as it is to relate to you, I made the call at 4 in the morning. And he was very impressed with how far we'd gotten toward the solution. And we were certain that, of course, rook to d4 leads to king and bishop against a king, well-known draw. Black takes, white takes. Or does he? Suppose he doesn't take. Suppose he gets one bishop out of the way. Let's just see. These three squares aren't available. These three squares are unavailable. All of these are unavailable, and specifically d7 is unavailable because bishop e6 check wins the rook. Oh, how about rook f4? Bishop e6 check. King to g3. Well, let's look at it. Rook f4. Bishop e6. You got to stay close to your rook. And wins. So, let's back it up. That is... that's the domination theme. Let's put these pieces back where they had started. And we need a white rook. We need our white rook here. After rook to d4, bishop e7, this is domination. And of course, there are hundreds of studies with this theme, and not just with two bishops dominating a rook. How about bishop and knight dominating a queen? I've gone over many of these studies, and they're some of my favorites. Troitzky specialized in this. Anyway, so if you're not impressed with this, I'm curious why you wouldn't be. This is just spectacular stuff, and I think that you'll have a lot of fun. If you take up endgame studies, you will be richly rewarded. So, okay, check me out next time on Chess for Closers.
That's great.